So, mm, so you may have just seen the video in regards to all things calendar. We're ending that video with another video because one of the most important things that people don't realize is that SuiteDash doesn't have a way to just share this calendar appointment type with a link. You have to create it. And so I'm going to show you in this video how to do that. It is a easy process, but I do want to let you know that each of these appointment types will need their own type of calendar link. If you wanted to do them separate, we can still add multiple on one link. So let me go ahead and activate this status so they can show up. And we're going to go over to forms. So I'm not going to speak on forms right now, but we will have a separate segment for forms. But you want to know that with a form, you can do many things. A kickoff form specifically does kickoff automations, and they're known for unknown and known targets. An unknown target is a person who has never filled out anything in your CRM, and a known target is someone who exists inside of your CRM. A checkout form is going to be used for immediate payment and can be sent to either an unknown and known target. An update form is for continuous automations for known targets, which means that those forms are specifically to be used inside of the portal. A support ticket form is for the support ticket module, in which we'll discuss later. A general form collects data but does not actually store custom fields inside of the system. And then a subscriber form is specific to the marketing within SuiteDash. For this specific video, we're speaking on how to create appointment types or appointment type scheduling links for those. So I would either use a kickoff form or a checkout form. If you are going to get paid for this call, so meaning that you need someone to pay a deposit for before speaking with you, you would want to use that checkout form. The precursor is to make sure that you go over to Office and that you set up your gateway. If you want to use a checkout form for any reason, such as maybe also grabbing their information, so you can have their information like a questionnaire and then have them schedule a call and they have to pay for it there, that would be the best use case. Now, if you just want a simple URL that you can share with someone to say, hey, this is my discovery call, or if you want to embed this on your website, this is going to be the kickoff form. And that kickoff form, we're going to utilize this to create the scheduler. So I like to name my forms pretty consistent. So if I have it for a lead, or maybe if you wanted to specifically say appointment so that you can know that this is an appointment type of form, then I'll say appointment and I'll say discovery. So now, if this is going to be my discovery form link, I like to reorder these custom fields, but I want to slow down by talking about what this is specifically. This section is going to tell you the form type and the title of the form. This toggle allows the form to be saved as a draft. This is based on their cookies. So if they are on their same computer and their same IP, it will show up with the saved data. Down here are the form blocks, validation, and order. So you have these custom fields. You also have custom fields here that you can create, and then you have advanced blocks, which is what we're going to utilize for this, which is going to be an appointment block. And at the bottom, we have the actual form assignments and automations. So this is split into two things. An unknown target, again, those are people who never filled out a form before. After they fill this out, they will become a known target. And then you have the known targets who already exist within the CRM. Because they're filling this form out, they can also have automations triggered to them. Further down, you have a plus button, and you'll see that only on this form, you'll have a send email notification. So with that being said, I'm going to click it so you can see. This does allow you to send an email, and it can be sent to users, circles, or you can send it to a team. And then you can also just directly send it to the target that is filling out this email, this form as well. You can add a subject with specific placeholders, and that comes directly from the form. You can also add information in the body of the email, and then you can also attach the submission of the form as well. So let's go back up and let's talk about these fields. I find it very important to order things in a way that just makes sense. If you are a company that works with other companies, then you want to move company up the top. It is a preference thing for me. And I also like to look down on this little toggle here. I do like to remove the actual subtext that they have because it just is unnecessary for me. But if you want to keep it, you can. But I'm going to remove it for the sake of me just not needing it. Understanding what company name means. So a company name is going to allow you to have that person fill out their company name. You can change this to say, please enter your company name. You can change the field however you feel in the way that it's presented. And then you can also take it out completely by exiting it out, because this is not a default field that is needed for a kickoff form, but it is kind of one that people utilize all the time, because if you're working with B2B companies, then you want them to fill that information out. Now, allowing an open-end input means that you don't have options that they need to pre-fill, so you can select an option for them, but allowing it means that they can put any company in. But if you give the option to say, I'm not representing a company, then it basically allows it to stay blank, right? So it just allows them to say, you don't have to fill this out. That's it. If you also say, okay, well, let's create a company. If it matches, then I'll create a company. And then if you want the target to be known as that company, because again, in the CRM, you can have an entity as a company, or you can have an entity as an individual. So there's two different types of people that can be represented here. You can toggle this on and off. And then you want to prevent that primary contact to switch over to individual mode. Individual mode just means, again, they're either going to come in underneath their own account, or they're going to represent underneath the company account. I like to do the preventing only if you're only strictly going to be working with a company. If they have the liberty of having a company and having a individual space, it may complicate things for them, because then they're going to have two little portals and maybe they'll get confused later down the line. All of that is going to be explained a little bit more in detail later down the line. But for now, I'm going to leave all of this active, and I'm going to also remove again this subtext. I want you to understand these values here. Required means that you're requiring this field. Placeholder means that you're adding a pre-filled value there for them to see when they're filling out the form. A pre-filled value also means that if they had originally pre-filled it, then it will show what is existing. In this case, that really only matters for known contacts, because if they're a known contact, that means that they've already filled this form out and maybe they already had some information about their company in the system, so it's going to pre-fill that. Read only just means that you're making this a block, like a field that can't be entered, like new information can't be entered into. And then hidden means that it hides it all together. If it's hidden, in this case, I would take it off, but I'm going to leave it here for the sake of this tutorial. Then you have the primary email. I like to have a primary email at the bottom, so I'm going to shift these up like that. And shifting these up just changes the order. You can also click on this little number button here, and you can change the order of it as well, and it will switch immediately. Just going to move that back up. One of the other things that I love utilizing within this system is the custom options. So you have CSS class. You have the ability to style the fields and change the layout. If you did a first value here and place it inside this box, and then you make that a comma next to it, and you do the second, which is going to be the first half, what this is saying is that this is going to be the first column, or the first custom field in that column, and it's going to be a half column. So that's what we just said. This is going to be the first column, the first custom field, but if I wanted to make it a third row, meaning that it's going to have a field that takes up 33% of that row, then I'll use a third, or maybe the fourth if I wanted 25%. This says that this is important. This is like a light gray background, and essentially you have that additional padding. It adds like a small padding to it, and this makes it a red background, which makes it important. Okay, so I like to do paddings, or columns rather, if I'm trying to make it as easy for people to read. When you're doing the second field in that row, you're going to make it just the half. This means that you are now saying this is the first custom field in that row. This is the second one. So I don't need to say another first because I already identified what the first row is. And then I have a primary email. So I don't want this to be on the same row as them, but I do want this to be on its own row. And I do want someone to fill in their phone number as well as this email. So I'm going to create this column now. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go over to CRM custom fields. So there are a lot of defaults and a lot of custom fields that you can create. I'm going to actually put the primary phone number, and I'm going to move this up to right underneath the primary phone. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make this required. And I'm going to also go ahead and update this to make it a half. And so now what I've just done, I'm going to show you, but I've made this its own row and this is own row. This is at the top. So before I can do anything else, I have to now define the actual settings for the unknown and the known targets. So I will go down here and we're going to explain this a little bit. The role is going to say what will happen when they fill this out. Do they become a lead? Do they become a prospect? Or do they become a client? In this case, I will not use lead because leads for me don't carry much significance or weight. When they're a lead in the portal, you can't send them a proposal. You can't do much of anything, but you can do those things with a prospect. And so I always do a rule for prospect if they're unknown. It gives me more power. I want to set the coordinator to myself because I'm the only one in here. I don't need to assign any salesperson or any circle. If I wanted to, I could. I can create a circle inside of the office section, and I can say, actually, no, CRM, sorry. And I can say, hey, when they fill this out, I want them to become a part of the discovery call circle. That is a precursor as well before filling this entire form out. I don't want to send them a document, but I do need to actually set the appointment schedules that they do see available. In this box, you're going to see any active appointment type that you have. I'm just going to do discovery, but if I wanted to do both, similar to how you saw the add appointment in our manual sense in the other video, you can do that same thing here and you can add both. They can choose which one. I don't want to do anything else for these automations, but I do want to make sure that I receive a submission email. So I'm going to toggle this on. Now, the settings for the known targets are a little bit different because if they are already in the system, if you want to change the role of them being from a prospect over to a client or even over from a lead over to a client or prospect, you can do that. You don't have to make changes for them. It is not required. However, if you wanted to send some other notification or automation to them, you could. I'm going to skip all of that, but in this case, I am going to make sure that I toggle that submission email. Yes, you have to toggle it for both because they're two separate types of clients or targets. So that simply means that you want to make sure that you choose what happens for both. And at the bottom, I don't need to send an email, but if I wanted to, I could quickly send an email to them, just letting them know I received it. But what they will receive, though, is that confirmation email from them booking the call. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead now and save this. And after I save it, you'll see this form saved here. But before I do anything else, I'm going to go over to this link and embed. So what link and embed is an actual way for you to be able to update how the form is seen. There is a very small known situation, and I did report this over to SuiteDash, that sometimes this form looks like this because the appointment block is added. And I specifically want to show you this because these are things that most people don't want to show you, but it's the truth, right? Before I fix this, I'm going to show you how the form looks. So I created those two fields or those two columns. And so you can see column 1, column 2. And then to the left over here, you have all the information you need for your direct link. If you have already created your custom URL, you'll have the ability to create a friendly URL. So maybe I wanted to call this discovery. When you do that, it does then set it to that discovery space, and then it also gives you this custom URL so that someone can easily access this form without them having to go into your portal or do anything. The other good thing is that you can embed this. So of course you can change the size and all, but you can embed this onto your website. I find the easiest way to embed it is just sharing, like adding the link that we just copied. But you can also use the embed code here if you wanted to. This embed placeholder is more so for the internal parts of the system, so all of just SuiteDash, but this is going to be for your website. With the embedding, you can also change the format of this as well with percentages or numbers. And then over here, you have the submission options. You can make this a default as well, so you can set defaults inside of the settings of the system. But if you wanted to have separate like success messages for each, you can. The other biggest thing is that you can also dismiss this setting altogether and just redirect them to a page. You can also set a specific page title for this, and then you can style it however you choose with some pre-selected themes. And these themes are pretty cool. They're all CSS based, so you have the options to change some items here. And of course, you can change primary colors if you wanted to, and secondary colors. But I sometimes just like the no theme, because if I'm going to fill this on my website, my other option here, I like to hide the form title. I like to hide the required field. I like to animate the labels. And then I like to make it transparent. So when I place it on my website, I don't have the white box on the background. If I wanted to, you see that scrolling vertical bar here. I can also hide that. So there's no longer a bar. It just adds like this very sleek look. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So once that's done, I'm going to now show you how to fix this so that it can not look like that. And so it's a very easy fix, but I do understand that those small things are frustrating. So coming back to this edit on my right screen here, at the bottom, I'm going to go over to advanced block, and I'm going to put an HTML content block there. I'm just going to call this spacer, and I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to save it. I am also going to just move it up to one section here. So I moved it from 7 to being 6. And I'm going to refresh this screen on the left side. And what should happen is that now it should be able for me to just have a space in between, and it cleans up the form. Like I said, they are aware of it. It may not happen when you complete this process, but it is something just to take note of. And as you can see, everything is pretty much filled out. It is a simple process, and now you have your link that you can share with individuals. So if I were to go to an incognito screen and go ahead and share this link here, it'll bring this link. You can customize this the way that you want. So of course you can make adjustments to it, like adding a logo to it. The way that you can add a logo is very simple as well. You can use that HTML content block. So I would go back here to this HTML content block. You can call this hero or banner. I like calling it hero if I wanted to. You can also add any embeds inside of here. So this is very good for embedding a video, maybe even, any text. It's really good for that. But if I wanted to add just a logo, I don't know if I have any logos on here. I'm going to just add one of my logos that exists. So if I wanted to add a logo, it never likes my logos. I don't know. No, it doesn't like my logos, y'all. But let me just add a photo. Let's just do that. So if I wanted to add a photo here, I can click on the image and I can position it to center. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save this field form again. And now I'm going to open it back up inside of the incognito screen. It's a very big photo, but you have that big photo of me at the top. Of course, you can change it. So you can adjust it the way you want. You can make it smaller in size, and you can save it. And then that's basically the adjustment. So stay tuned for more videos. I do think that this was just something very important to share, because I think a lot of people don't realize that this is a next step after calendar. All right. Thank you for watching.